We're here with Patrick Siebert of Jester's Hand Publishing. This is a game that he designed, Siege of Verdan. So, could you tell us sort of what kind of game this actually is?
It's a military strategy game where you pit yourself against your opponents, which are hopefully your friends. You control some areas, there's some resource management involved, and then when it basically boils down to, you have some diplomacy, and then hopefully, if it's fun, a little assassination.
All right, so what inspired you to, I guess, really just get into designing, and specifically this game?
Well, specifically this game, I've always wanted to have something that had flavors when I was young, like Risk, I'm sure you played that, or Stratego, or Dungeons and Dragons, or Magic the Gathering, where everything is new with Magic. You pull a card, it's something different, it plays different every single time. So I really wanted to bring that element into Siege. Our cards, each card that you play is represented by a game piece that goes onto the board. And that game piece moves around, but you don't know, your opponents don't know what that game piece does or is until they encounter it on the board. Two military units meet, they may fight, you may not. An assassin may encounter a ruler, and that may put you in really big trouble.
Okay, so it's almost like a mix of Stratego and Risk there a little bit, with the, like, I'm not sure what that is until I go after it, but then the whole area control on the board sort of like Risk is. So, give me a quick run through of how this game actually works.
Okay, so if I were playing against you, you would place your capital city and your ruler down on the same state. At the beginning, that's considered thematically the only state that you control at the time. So you can only place your new players, your new units, on states that you control. You'll start to spread out little by little, moving your king and placing new players, new units in play as you recover resource points. You're going to recover your resource points, build your armies, then you're going to put yourself up against me. At the very end of the game, we're going to slowly start taking over your opponent's capital cities. When you do that, you get some spoils of war that's encountered right here on the spoils track. Spoils track works in another way too. It allows you to limit the amount of time that the game plays on. So that way you don't have people kind of sandbagging, holding off for a long, long time. You really get to imbibe everything in a 2.5 hour game.
How quickly does, I'd say, aggression happen in this game? I mean, how soon in the game am I actually going to be fighting somebody else?
Well, that depends on you and the amount of players. If you're an aggressive player, you really want to get in somebody's capital city and knock it out fast. The resources that you get in the beginning of the game for taking a capital city early really works out well to your advantage. There are some drawbacks to that, obviously. It could leave you a little weak, so you might be weak for the rest of that turn, but your following turn, you're going to get more resources, get to draw more cards, you're going to get a lot of extra bonuses that'll make you stronger against the other players much later in the game. So the stronger you are in the beginning, the better. Now there's another tactic to that. There is an assassin element to this. So if you are able to employ assassins in your deck, and you're able to assassinate my ruler, and I can't get another ruler out in play, I start to atrophy pretty bad. I start to lose control of my states that normally I would like to have.
How many players does this game play?
You can play it with 2, but it is a whole lot more fun with 3 to 6. When you have 6 players on this board fighting each other at the same time, somebody's going to start off to be a little weak, and if I have extra resources, I have the ability to shoot you those resources, and hopefully you won't stab me in the back in the end. It's a lot of fun for a 6-player game.
So in a 6-player game, does everybody start in a different colored area? Is that because I know you said something about states earlier?
Well, here's how that works. There's obviously, in most games, there's going to be a first turn advantage. So how I'm combating that is you're going to get to place your capital city first if you're the last player. And in the start of the game, you get to draft out your ruler first as well. And that happens in reverse order. So the last player to move gets to pick the best spot on the board and also gets to pick the best ruler.
Okay. Now, speaking of, when you've got 6 players and that sort of mechanic of, giving the last player at least some sort of advantage even when they're in last, is there a way for a player who gets weakened early to actually make a comeback?
Well, I kind of touched on that earlier. If you get really beat up early, you do have the advantage of getting to draw randomly from the deck. So that might or might not help. But if there's another player on the board that's willing to sacrifice or shoot you some of his extra resource points, then that's going to help you be able to build your army faster. Your resource pool depletes at the beginning of your turn every time, so it only benefits you to move those resources around if you can win favor with someone else.
All right. Well, if somebody wants to get a copy of this game, is this like a Kickstarter right now? Is this something that they can get?
Well, there's a collector's edition version of it that is available now, and it comes with a little bit. Do you mind if I grab a box? It's a little bit nicer box that it comes in. It does come with the cast resin pieces, and it comes with the wooden card holders. The version we're going to kickstart is going to be a lot more cost effective. The cost effective one is going to have cardboard pieces and a player mat instead of those card holders, and that one's going to kickstart at the end of August, first week of August, and follow through the first 3 weeks of September.
What would your expected kind of turnaround time on the Kickstarter? What are you guys hoping for?
We're pretty much done production-wise. We have to design the player's mat for the cost-effective version, and other than that, we're ready to print. We're going to send that out to Pando, which is one of the better manufacturers, and then they should hopefully get it turned around with all approvals within 12 to 14 months is what we're hoping for.
All right. Well, that sounds fantastic. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Eric.